Hey, I think we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone, to the Grad Studies Filing Your Thesis or Dissertation workshop. It's April 2024. Glad you could all make it. I think there's still more participants that are entering in, but we'll get started. And so everyone's been muted. We'll try to save a lot of our questions for the end. You can pop questions in the chat. I might answer some out loud, or some of the other team members might, or we might answer questions through the chat, or we might address some of the things at the end too. To start things out, I'm Sarah Hamid. I'm a senior academic advisor in graduate studies, and so welcome everyone. And I'm going to get started. I hope everyone can hear me okay and see the slides okay. So I'm going to get started. So this is our team. Sarah Driver is the director of advising. She's here in this meeting to help with the chat and questions. Jai Wynn is here as well. She's a student services specialist, and Adair is also with us. He's also a student services specialist. There's me. I'm a senior academic advisor. I've been in grad studies for almost 5 years. Samantha Dustiger is also another SAA. She's currently on maternity leave and will return at the end of May. And we have Brittany, who's also a senior academic advisor here in graduate studies. And I believe we're all on the call except Sam. So we're here to help answer all of your questions. So this is our agenda for today. We are going to discuss all topics related to filing. When do you file? How do you file? What does GradSphere look like? Just the whole entire process. And we are going to break it up between PhD and thesis students, and then we're going to talk about the process for any students that are MFA or Master's Plan 2 students. We're also going to discuss what happens after you file and submit all of the required paperwork. And then finally, we have our amazing Fernando here on the call, and he is in charge of commencement. So anyone who has commencement related questions, he will be here to talk about commencement and answer any of your questions. He'll go after we're all done with our section. So thank you, Fernando, for being here. So when do I file? Eligibility and deadlines. So we have 2 upcoming deadlines to file your thesis or dissertation or to graduate. The most upcoming one is June 6th, 2024. And this is our deadline when everything needs to be submitted to us. And so I'm assuming most of you on this call are probably going to aim for our June 6th deadline. Remember that students can submit on the deadline day all the way up until midnight. We don't have to approve it on June 6th. You just have to submit everything on June 6th. And so students get panicked if they don't hear from us by June 6th. But more than likely you're not going to, because we get so many on the deadline day. But just know it's perfectly fine to either submit everything before June 6th or actually on the date of June 6th, all the way up until midnight. I just have to move my screen around here. If you file by June 6th, your degree awarded date is going to be June 13th, 2024. So June 13th is what will show up on your actual diploma if you file by June 6th. In order to qualify to file by June 6th, you have to be either registered in the spring quarter or on approved filing fee for the spring quarter. And so those 2 items would allow you to submit and file by June 6th. So we need to make sure that you're registered in the spring quarter or you're on approved filing fee if you want to submit by June 6th. Let's say you cannot make the June 6th deadline. The next option then would be to submit by our September 13th deadline. This is only for students that are enrolled in the spring. If you're on filing fee for the spring quarter right now, you have to file by June 6th. You don't have that summer option. So just be aware that if you're on approved filing fee for spring, you do need to submit everything. That's a really hard deadline by June 6th. If you're not on filing fee and you're just registered in the spring quarter, It doesn't matter how many units, most of you are probably in 12 though. As long as you're registered in the spring quarter, you can file by either June 6th, or if that doesn't work, you can actually file kind of anytime throughout the whole summer, all the way up until September 13th. You're not required to register in the summer if you want to make our September 13th deadline. You just have to be registered in the spring. This summer, a lot of students will just trickle in and submit their filing throughout the whole summer. You can also do it on September 13th. The difference between the June 6th and the September 13th deadline is just the degree awarded date. And so if you file sometime in the summer up until September 13th, your diploma will say September 13th versus June 13th. And so these are our next upcoming deadlines to submit. If you miss the September 13th deadline and you're not able to make that one, then you would have to file in the fall, and you'd have to be registered in the fall quarter or on approved filing fee for the fall quarter. The main thing to remember is if you do not want to be a student here in the fall quarter, make sure you either file by June 6th or September 13th. The next slide. So some more information on graduation eligibility. We have to make sure that every single student, whether you're a master's student or a PhD student, every single student has to advance to candidacy. If you haven't heard that term before, you're not sure if you've advanced to candidacy, talk to your program to see if you have. It is a form that you file with us and we approve it. And so most students have done this, but we do run across some that come to the filing portion of their academic career and they want to graduate and they have not advanced to candidacy. So we always make sure that students have advanced to candidacy. Another one is, sorry, these, just am trying to move this. There we go. Oh gosh. There we go. Okay. Another eligibility, as I mentioned before, is you have to be either registered or on filing fee. Master's students have to have passed all their required coursework. Everyone's cumulative GPA has to be a 3.0 or above in order to graduate. I grades, so incomplete or NG grades, should be resolved. All committee members have been approved, which would be on your candidacy form. If you are a doctoral student in a Plan A or a Plan C program, you will have to make sure that in order to graduate, there's this final exam that you have to pass and take at the end, which I'll go over in more detail in a little bit. If you're not sure what plan you are, you can ask your program and they'll let you know. Most students in the doctoral PhD program won't have to have this special exam at the end because most of you are Plan Bs, but there are Plan As and Plan Cs out there. If you're not sure, just ask your program. So some student responsibilities, just make sure that you give your committee, and this is for thesis and PhD students, make sure you give your committee enough time to read your final draft of your thesis or dissertation. The minimal amount is at least 4 weeks they need. So just factor that timeline in if you're trying to make our June 6th or September 13th deadline. It's always important to communicate this timeline with your committee. Just be very transparent about when you want to submit everything and what your goal is and when you want to graduate according to our deadlines. And just make sure as well, if your committee has changed from when you've advanced to candidacy, make sure that we have an approved reconstitution form on your record. And so if any of your committee members, if you're a PhD or a thesis student, have changed, double check to make sure you have an approved reconstitution. If not, we still have time to approve those. You would just be submitting that through GradSphere, which I will talk about more as well. So our next slide is, I cannot read this because it's there, sorry. Required registration to file. So as I mentioned before, really important, you have to be registered in units. Doesn't have to be 12, but most of you are. You have to be at least registered in units during the quarter that you are going to file in. So for example, as I mentioned before, just a quick reminder, spring quarter registration, you can file on or before June 6th. If you're registered in spring, you can also file during the summer, as I mentioned before. Remember, if you are on approved filing fee for spring, you have to submit and file everything by June 6th. This is a really strict deadline. If you're not sure if you're on filing fee, you think you maybe submitted it and you're not sure if you got approval or not, double check with your program or with us. The majority of you are going to be in registered units for the spring. You can file either on June 6th or by September 13th. How do I file? So this is the filing process. There's 2 steps. So these first couple slides that I'm going to talk about, this really only pertains to PhD and thesis students. When I'm done discussing the steps for PhD and thesis students, I will be addressing how to file for any students that are on the call that are MFA or Master's Plan 2 students. So if you're a PhD or thesis student, you have 2 steps in order to file. One is uploading your completed and approved thesis or dissertation into ProQuest, ETD. On our website, there's a link. You could start creating your ProQuest account now. They do ask a lot of questions, but your final dissertation or thesis gets uploaded by you into ProQuest. And so that's where you're going to upload your thesis and dissertation is into ProQuest. And then this is all new. You're going to be uploading your paperwork, including your signed title page, into GradSphere. So GradSphere is brand new. Before this, you were always, students were always submitting their paperwork into Box. Box no longer exists for us. And so there's just 2 steps, ProQuest, and then all the paperwork through GradSphere, which I'm going to go over as well. As an overview, this is all the required paperwork that you will need to be submitting as a student into GradSphere. I'm going to go over each one of these bullet points in more detail and show you screenshots of what it looks like in GradSphere. But just as an overview, this is the filing required paperwork that you're going to need to gather as a student in order to put into GradSphere when you want to file. The signed title page, this pertains to both thesis and PhD students, the most important document that we need. In the past, this was always submitted to us by your chair or your program coordinator, but now you will be submitting your signed title page. It has to be signed off by all of your committee members. They can sign it either digitally or with a pen, but your signed title page is now your responsibility as a student to upload into GradSphere. And I'll show you what that looks like in more detail through the next slide. Signed title page, most important document that you're going to be submitting into GradSphere. The second document is just a copy of your abstract only. This is for thesis and PhD students. You're going to just upload just a copy only of your abstract. There's also this thesis dissertation release agreement or embargo. This will be something that you're going to answer, and it's an embedded question in your GradSphere filing process that I'm going to show you what it looks like. And this is where you're going to indicate, do you want immediate release of your thesis and dissertation, or do you want an embargo period? This will also be electronically routed to your committee chair to verify this as well. Future contact information. This is just like a non-UC Davis email. How do we get a hold of you if we need to? Things like that. The following 4 bullet points are only for PhD students. So if you're a master's thesis students, you're going to only have to upload the signed title page, abstract, thesis release agreement, the embargo, future contact information. PhD students, you have to do all of that plus these next 4 bullet points. So PhD students, you also have to take our graduate studies exit survey. And at the end of it, you get a 4-digit code. You're going to just input that 4-digit code into GradSphere. We also have a National Sciences Foundation survey that you have to take as a PhD student. You get a certificate at the end that you're going to be uploading into GradSphere. And then there is a designated emphasis report. This is only for students who have an approved designated emphasis with us. If you do have a DE with us and you are completing it, you will have to upload the completion report into GradSphere. If you are a Plan A or Plan C student, You will also have to upload a final exam report. The majority of you here are probably Plan B students. If you're not sure of what plan you are in, you can ask your program. And we're going to go into what these individual uploads look like in GradSphere because we went in and took screenshots. First off, though, the sign title page, as I mentioned before, the most important document that we need from you. This is the template. You can find it on our website. Basically, if you follow this template and input your information, this is where your committee members will sign it. You're going to put the title of your dissertation or thesis at the top. You're going to put your name, then the word dissertation or thesis, and you're going to just follow the order of this template with your information. And then below, you're going to list all the committee members' names, and they're going to sign above their name. That sign title page is just a standalone one-page document. And that's what you will submit into GradSphere, and their signature and sign off tells us that they've approved your final thesis and dissertation. So that's what this template looks like. It is on our website for you to reference, and I'm sure we'll put this in the chat as well. Just some last minute important reminders about the title page. As I mentioned before, it's the most important document. It has to be signed up by all of your committee members listed on your candidacy. And we do look to make sure that those members are the same that are listed on your candidacy. If your members have changed, you'll need to submit a reconstitution before you file into GradSphere. And remember, the biggest change is that the signed title page is actually submitted to GradSphere by you, the student, once you've gotten all those signatures. The unsigned title page, so you're going to make another title page that looks exactly the same as the signed one, and this is going to serve as the very first page of your thesis and dissertation that you submit into ProQuest. So the unsigned will have the same template. It will even list the members' names. It just will not include their signature, and that will be Roman numeral page number 1 of your thesis or dissertation. And so the first page we look at when we open it up will be this unsigned title page. Here's GradSphere. And so as a student, this is where you're going to be uploading all of your required paperwork. We've gone in and done screenshots. We're kind of new to this whole process as well. But when you log into GradSphere, you're going to scroll to the bottom and you'll see the degree completion, area. And underneath that, you're going to click on filing process. When you click on that, you're going to come to this screen and you're going to input either your student ID or your email. And then there's like a little pause, and then your name comes up and your program code and some of the information on your record will appear here. The degree pathway, if you're only in one degree, it's going to just show that one degree pathway. So if you're a PhD student, Plan B, it's going to show you right there. And then the intended graduation quarter, this will be a drop-down menu. And if you're trying to make our June 6th deadline, you're going to click on the spring. If you're trying to make our summer one, then you're going to do the summer quarter drop-down. The next question is candidacy check-in. So majority of your candidacies, I'm hoping all of them have already been approved, and this has taken place way before GradSphere was ever initiated. So GradSphere doesn't pick up your candidacy. Just make sure that you have advanced. We're going to catch it as well, but just make sure you've advanced and you've submitted that paperwork to us prior to GradSphere. But for every student here in this process, you're going to click yes. The next question is the ProQuest. So you definitely want to be submitting your ProQuest dissertation thesis. You want to submit that into ProQuest first and then come in and do the GradSphere. Because if you answer no to this question, you can't go any further with the filing process. So it's a really good idea to upload your thesis and dissertation first into ProQuest and then come into GradSphere and go through these questions. And so you're going to want to answer yes here if you want to continue with the filing process. So this is what the file upload looks like. And this is all one page when you log into GradSphere. We just had to break it up into like 3 groups to fit the screen. So the file upload, the signed title page, this is where you're going to upload that signed title page. The abstract, you're going to upload that as well. The exit survey code is not an upload. You're just going to type in that 4-digit completion code. The survey of earned doctorate certificates, so the NSF survey, you will get a certificate at the end of that survey that you're going to have to upload here. The DE completion report, this only pertains to students who have an approved DE with us and you're wanting to actually complete it. And so you do need this DE completion report. That DE completion report is going to be signed off by your DE chair. And you're going to upload this into GradSphere to show that you've completed it, you've taken all the required coursework, and then your DE will be approved and completed and along with your graduation package. If you don't have a DE, you don't have to worry about this. If you do have a DE, but you don't want to complete your DE, you can indicate that here by clicking that last little bubble. A lot of students will get the DE approved and then they just never finish it. That's totally fine. You can indicate that here on GradSphere. Also, if you're a Plan A or Plan C student, off the top of my head, if you're a stats student, that's a Plan A or C. So if you're a stats student, you will have to upload this final report, this final exam report to show that you've passed this final exam. So Plan A, Plan C students will have to do 1 extra upload. Most of you are probably a Plan B, and so you're just going to have to upload this. But if you are a Plan A or C, there's this 1 extra report that you'll have to submit. The bottom portion of the filing process for you in GradSphere looks like this. There's a question about the Graduate Academic Certificate, or a GAC, as we call it. It's very strange. If you have no idea what this is and you never submitted one, most of you have not, you're going to just click I do not. But if you are one of the few that has this, you should know, and then you would click I do. Below this is your dissertation committee members. You're going to have to input, I think they're automatically put in here, or no, I don't think they will appear here. No, they won't. So the committee members listed on your candidacy who are on your committee will need to be input here. And I think the quickest way is just by inputting their email, and then the name and title auto-populates. So just get ready to get their emails of all the committee members on your dissertation or thesis committee. The embargo part is you're going to be discussing this option, if you haven't already, with the chair of your committee or your PI, your major professor, on whether or not you're going to do an immediate release of your thesis or dissertation, or if you plan to embargo. Immediate release, you would just click that. If you are going to embargo your dissertation or thesis, you would click embargo, and then there's a drop-down menu that shows the different options of how long you want it embargoed. I would say that most students do immediate release. The ones that embargo are typically the ones that potentially will have future publications or highly sensitive information. But this is definitely a topic to discuss with your the chair of your committee. And just know that you'll have to indicate that here through this filing process on GradSphere. Future contact information section is just gathering information so we get a hold of you for alumni related issues. Your non-UC Davis email, phone number. You don't have to submit a website or LinkedIn if you don't have one. Not a big deal. Once this is all completed, you're going to actually click review when you're done. So the review button is what you click when you're done. If there's any error messages, it will indicate. And once you've clicked review, that's it. It moves on to your program to verify some things, and then it ends up coming to us. Just remember, you also have to make sure that you submitted your thesis and dissertation to ProQuest. So both of these steps need to take place. Submitting GradSphere and your thesis and dissertation into or to ProQuest ETD. And that's what the process looks like for a master's thesis and PhD student. Do I need to pause here and are we
Yeah.
good?
Can I just, so
Yes.
there's been several questions about folks getting a
can't see.
403 access denied.
Oh, yes.
And that, just so you know, that's a sort of a known issue with GradSphere right now. You need to clear your cookies and your cache potentially, as well as your browsing history, or try an incognito window. But if you have technical issues with GradSphere, you come against a bug, you try an incognito window and it doesn't work, please email gradsystems@ucdavis.edu.
We'll
And
put that in the chat.
I did put it in the chat.
Okay, thank you.
But usually using an incognito window will fix that issue.
Yeah, that's how I sign on to GradSphere. I go to the dark screen, the incognito screen, and that's where I log in. And then it works. So hopefully that works for you all as well. We are getting tons of stuff from students in GradSphere, so we know it's working. Okay, so do we have any other questions we want to address in the chat, or should I just keep moving forward with the master's ones? Probably just move forward. Okay.
I think we can move forward.
Oh, sorry. One last slide for our PhD and thesis students. We do have a website filled with a lot of information about publishing options and copyright. Does get to become kind of a tricky, nuanced topic. And so we do really encourage students to either look at our website, talk to your PI about in-depth questions or concerns you have about publishing options and copyright. We also refer a lot of students to Michael Ladish. He's in the library and he is kind of like the publishing copyright person. He even does a copyright workshop that we, I think, have the recorded video linked on our website that you can watch. You can also email him. And so any of those in-depth questions, we usually refer to Michael or your PI for that. So if you are a PhD and a master's thesis students, you know, I've kind of went over that process. There's still more information I'm going to address to you all after these couple of slides. But right now, this section is for any students that are on the call that are an MFA student or a master's plan 2 student. So this is where you're taking an exam at the end or you're submitting a final project. You're not doing like the thesis route. And so for master's plan 2 students or MFA students, this is new. You have to submit your filing process in GradSphere. So prior to GradSphere, if you were a plan 2 student or MFA, there was just a final report that got submitted to us showing us that you passed your exam or you passed your final final project. You didn't have to do anything beyond that. But now things have changed. And in GradSphere, we do need you to submit your filing process in GradSphere. And the chair of your committee also needs to submit a final report in GradSphere. So there's kind of 2 steps, one for the student, one for the committee chair to submit both in GradSphere to indicate to us that you are in fact, you know, filing and you're done with your master's plan 2 or MFA degree. So when you log into GradSphere, you're going to go down to the degree completion section and you're going to see the filing process tab that we've circled with the red here. This just shows you what you're going to have to click on as a student. So all students that want their master's degree, if you're a plan 2 or an MFA, you have to click this filing process button. And I'll go through what that looks like once you click that. Your committee chair, we've let them know that they have to do this as well, but you as a student can also remind them and your coordinators will be reminding them, but the committee chair also has to submit this final report form in GradSphere to us. And both of these options in GradSphere should be ideally submitted to us by our filing deadline, which is June 6th or September 13th. So this is what GradSphere looks like for a Master's Plan 2 student or an MFA student who's wanting to graduate. So you're gonna scroll down at the bottom and look under degree completion section, and then you're gonna click on the filing process. There you're gonna indicate your student ID or your student email, and then your information pulls up. The degree pathway should automatically say the MS Plan 2. And then the intended graduation quarter, you would click on spring quarter 2024. The following section of your filing process looks like this. They're going to ask you the candidacy check-in. You're going to say yes. Hopefully you have. Remember, your candidacy was probably approved prior to GradSphere, and so GradSphere is not picking it up automatically. But please make sure that you have advanced to candidacy, that you have an approved one on file with us. You can start with your program just if you're not sure. If you have advanced or not, double check with your program. If you haven't, we can still get that moving if you want to graduate by June 6th. There's also a coursework check-in question. It asks when you've advanced to candidacy, you declared your completed and planned coursework. Between that point and now, has your coursework changed? Most of you are going to be saying no, it hasn't. This next section here is asking for the final report that your committee chair is going to sign off, indicating that yes, you in fact have passed your final exam. If you do not have this final report, you can't move forward with this process. So as an interim fix, okay, so let's start over. Sorry. If you have this master report form that they signed off when you passed your exam, please upload it. If you do not have it, we want you to still file and submit this process. And so we're trying to make this optional because really this final report form needs to come from your committee chair. But it's embedded right now in your process as well. And so if you don't have access to it, we still want you to submit this filing process. And so in the interim, if you don't have the report and you're trying to get everything in by June 6th and you know you've passed it, just upload any document, like a blank, just a blank Word doc, and just put your name on it. Because the system won't let you go through these questions without that upload. But we don't want things to be held up if you don't have this report. And ultimately, we're really needing this report to come from your committee chair. So either if you have it, upload it. If you don't have it, just upload a blank like Word doc or something with your name on it, and then you can go through this process to submit this filing to us. The grad academic certificate, most of you are not going to have this. It's a GOC. You would know if you're participating in one. But for most of you, you're going to say, I do not. And then the following information is just your future contacts information that we're gathering that you can input here as well. When you're all done with this, you're going to click review. And that's what button you have to click to kind of submit it to send off to your program and then to us. So that's what that looks like for the Master's Plan 2 and the MFA. Do we have any questions in the chat pertaining to this group of students that we should be addressing right now? No? Okay. So remember, Master's Plan 2, MFA, you have to submit the filing process in GradSphere, and your committee chair has to submit the final report showing that you passed your exam.
I lied. Just one thing that I want to emphasize, and Sarah has said this, you must be advanced to candidacy prior to doing your filing paperwork. So if you have any questions about advancing to candidacy, please contact your program coordinator. And if you don't know who that is, you can find that on your program page, and I'll put the link again in the chat.
Thank you. So as all the students on this call, you've completed both the steps, either by submitting your thesis and dissertation in ProQuest, and you've also done the GradSphere part, or if you're a Master's Plan 2 or MFA, you've done your filing process in GradSphere and your committee chair has submitted your exam report in GradSphere. So now what happens? Just know that all those steps have to go through your program, and then it all gets ended up, it does end up in grad studies. And so from there, we just kind of work in order of received. We're expecting a lot of students to make our June 6th deadline. I think last year we had like 430 students filing. So remember, after you've submitted everything, you've done everything that you need to, our approval process is not going to happen by our deadline. And a lot of students get freaked out and think that the approval on our end has to happen on June 6th. It's what has to happen by our deadline is you submitting everything. And then it's just, we work in order of received. It's a pretty manual process. So we're all trying to get in there and make sure that everyone's completed all of the steps. And then once we've confirmed all of that, we will let you know. For thesis and PhD students, we are going to look at your actual thesis and dissertation. We're going to go into ProQuest and we're going to look at what you've submitted. We're going to make sure that the first page is the unsigned title page. We're going to make sure that every page is numbered. So the preliminary pages, we want them to be Roman numeral page numbered at the bottom center of each page. And then when you hit your introduction or chapter 1, you're going to flip over to Arabic page numbering. We're going to make sure that there's no blank pages within your thesis and dissertation and that everything is in the 1-inch margins. We do have a website that kind of goes over the formatting, common questions. That's basically what we're looking for when we go into ProQuest. If we see any minor formatting errors, we will notify you. If we find any errors, you've still made the deadline. So no worries, you still made the deadline. More than likely, we're going to be contacting you after June 6th. That's also completely fine. You've still made our deadline. We do see a lot of formatting errors. It's completely common and normal. We'll notify you. You'll make those corrections. And then we will approve everything in ProQuest and you're done. And so you will get a final email from us saying that you've completed everything. It's been approved. Congratulations. But this is kind of a manual process. And so the best thing to know is if you've done the steps, it's just kind of patience to wait to hear from us. I know that can provide a lot of anxiety for students, especially if it's after the deadline. But sometimes it takes us 1 to 2, sometimes even 3 weeks after the deadline to get through everyone's filing. And so if anything's urgent or you're really stressed out or anxious about anything on our end, you can always feel free to email us. Once everything is approved on our end, you will get a degree conferral letter from us, and that will state that you've completed everything, and it will indicate your degree awarded date. And this is also a very manual process on our end as well. We write those out one by one currently, and we will email that to you eventually. Sometimes students need these faster because of potential jobs that need these conferral letters to verify that you've completed everything, and we'll work, as best we can with you. We do like to go in order of received. If you are a student that's, has this job waiting for you and they need this conferral letter, the sooner you submit, the sooner we can go through everything and approve it and send you that conferral letter. The conferral letter comes, 1, 2, 3 weeks sometimes after you've submitted and we've approved everything. After that, you do have to wait about 2 months to get the official degree awarded transcript. If you want that, you don't have to request it, but if you wanted that, it takes about 2 months for the registrar's office to give that to you if that's something you want. Most students are happy with the degree conferral letter from us, verifying that you've completed everything. Like I said, the next step then is if you want that degree awarded official transcript, that's through the registrar's office, not us. We are not the registrar's office. But you can request that about 2 months later, and then it does take about 4 months to get the actual diploma. And in our email, there's a link on how you can request your diploma that's issued through the registrar's office, not Graduate Studies. And that will all come in an email to you once we've approved everything. Typically, the degree conferral letter from us works just fine for students that need that for a job. And we try to get those out as soon as possible. I don't know if I've missed anything, but the next step is commencement, which is not necessarily connected to you filing. And so commencement is coming up. You don't have to file in order to actually participate in commencement, but you do have to have advanced to candidacy and you do have to register for commencement. And so we will hand over the next slide to Fernando, who's going to talk about all things commencement. And then after that, we'll address any additional questions or concerns throughout, maybe the seminar or Zoom meeting that we didn't address. So Fernando, I believe he's the next one. Fernando, I think, hold on one second. Give me 1 minute.
You can go ahead, Fernando.
Okay. Well, thanks, Sarah and team. Thank you for putting this together and for inviting me. My name is Fernando. I'm the Special Events and Program Manager here at Graduate Studies. So I am leading the Graduate Studies commencement efforts. So if you have any questions or anything, I'm always happy to, just help you any way I can. Today, I just wanted to talk through some quick details. I don't want to take too much of your time about the changes, some changes that are happening, particularly to 2024 commencement. So just to start off, I believe, Sarah, thank you for putting that in the chat. Grad Studies only hosts a spring commencement. So only June commencement for Grad Studies every year. We don't have a winter commencement. I know that's a question that comes through. So that's on our website. If you need to verify that, that's all posted there. But we here at Graduate Studies only host commencement every spring. This year, our commencement is going to be on Thursday, June 13th at the University Credit Union Center on campus. One of the, if not the biggest modification we're doing this year is that we are splitting our single commencement into two ceremonies, both taking place on June 13th. The first ceremony will take place in the morning, welcoming master degree students, scheduled to start at 10 a.m. and run through noon. And then our second ceremony would be welcoming MFA and doctoral degree students. And that's going to happen in the afternoon, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. on the 13th. Registration is currently open. The link to register, once you meet all the requirements that Sarah spoke through earlier in the call, it's available on our website, which is right at the bottom is the Grad Studies commencement website. I'll also post it in the chat, and I think Sarah already did. What I tell folks is that if you have any questions, there's so much to commencement, from registration to regalia to faculty, in all kinds of anything in between. So if you have any questions, the best way to get those answered is to email the gradcommencement@ucdavis.edu. That's our primary commencement inbox. I try my best to pay close attention to that inbox a couple times a week. We do get a large amount of inquiries, so I do my very best to go through every single one of them and try my best to address your question and comments. So thank you for your patience in advance. But if we welcome any questions, any comments through grad commencement. The other point of a great asset and tool is our Grad Studies commencement website. We have a lot of a variety of tools there, from an FAQ, talking about regalia, talking about parking, talking about faculty. So I would recommend you to check out the FAQ. You might get your questions answered that way, and we continue to update that website in that webpage. We have also created checklists specific to the master degree ceremony and the MFA doctoral for both students and faculty. So that's another good asset to check out. That's going to be on that homepage. You will see the master degree checklist, and that just has some key dates about when registration is set to close, regalia set to sort of the deadline for regalia, and sort of big hit items for you to make sure to be aware in your process of preparing for commencement once you register. So those checklists are available there for you. You can download them, you can print them. And also we've hosted a virtual Q&A, I want to say earlier this month, and that is also posted on our website, on the grad commencement website. So if you did not attend that Zoom session, it's there for you to watch on demand. And we go over in more depth these big changes as well as any other questions that came through the call. So if you did not participate, if you've not viewed the recording, I'll recommend you doing that as well. That might be helpful for you. But other than that, we're here to support you. Send an email to grad commencement. I'm happy to connect with you as needed and offer any assistance. And I look forward to celebrating with you in June. Thanks.
Thank you, Fernando. Just to verify with everyone, you don't have to file in order to participate in commencement. So the eligibility to participate in commencement is that you have to have advanced to candidacy. So if you've advanced to candidacy and you've never participated in commencement, you can register to participate in commencement this year. You don't have to file your paperwork in GradSphere and submit your thesis and dissertation to us in order to attend commencement. You just have to have advanced. Fernando, when is the deadline to sign up for commencement again?
Yeah, so the registration is set to close on May 9th.
Okay.
However, given the launch of GradSphere, send any questions, any comments you have to grad commencement, and we're open to work with you. Most importantly is for you to, if you're able to participate in commencement, is of course getting you on there as long as capacity and all that it's still available. But the deadline that we're managing just because of the logistics is May 9th. But if you happen to have any problems or with registration, with the paperwork, send us an email and we'll work with you and see what we can do for you for sure.
Fernando, there was one question in the chat. If the students are planning to finish this summer or next fall, they're allowed to participate in June 2025 commencement. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Are there any other commencement questions? Otherwise, we are happy to open it up, I think, to any questions at this point, right, Sarah?
Yeah. And we are going to post this recording on our website. Just because I know it's a lot of information.
That's all we have for you today. But if anybody has questions, you're welcome to raise your hand or put them in the chat. And congratulations. We're almost done.